We're talking to James Vesce, a professor in the Department of Theater, about the spring musical production, The Wiz, which will be performed here April 19th through the 23rd in Belk Theater in Robinson Hall. And this is the first musical production under the new formal program we have, the Musical Theater Certificate, which is really exciting. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
The Musical Theater Certificate is a new College of Arts and Architecture program that encompasses roughly 20 hours of training in musical theater, that encompasses actor training, dance preparation, and voice training. And it's something that's just been approved and will be sanctioned and accredited. And so it offers our students, it's really the fastest growing area of theater education in the country. So we're kind of getting on the bandwagon with a lot of other programs in the region.
And so students who are majoring in theater or maybe majoring in dance even or music could add this musical theater certificate to their bachelor degree.
Right, and it's essentially the workload of what would be a minor. It's about 20 hours.
That's great. So tell me why The Wiz? Why have you chosen to perform The Wiz?
Well, The Wiz has always been kind of an interesting musical. It's sort of the first kind of modern, and by modern I mean the last 50 years, African-American work that's sort of been embraced by the African-American community and was an affirmation of performance talent and really musical theater talent that existed all along. And the Broadway debut was in 1975, and then of course there was the movie that everyone refers to when they refer to The Wiz that of course starred Diana Ross and Michael Jackson and was not entirely well received. One of our faculty members, Karen Hubbard, was a member of that production and one of the Munchkins actually. And then in 2015 there was a production on NBC of The Wiz that also was really embraced culturally by the African American community, received some criticism because it's sort of marrying TV and theater, and that's not always easy to do. When we began talking about it as a department, we are an increasingly diverse program, and I think we were very interested in representing that diversity on our stage, and that was really the primary reason for the choice. And the music is great. It's a great musical.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about how you're going to present the music and how you're presenting this.
Well, the collaborative team, the production team, early on in the process, Noel Friedline, who's the music director and conductor, when he and I began talking about doing the show, and Donnell Steins, who's the choreographer, we were very interested in giving kind of a new look to the sound, if you will. And that meant not so much changing the original lyrics or arrangements, but modifying them to the extent that when you see the movie or hear the movie soundtrack or the 2015 NBC production, the same thing happens. You want to kind of update the sound because the 70s sound is a bit dated for our students, and so we have an alum named is Justin Aswell, who's a DJ, and that was sort of one of the things we talked about, was giving it a kind of club or house or hip-hop sound. And he will actually be playing when the house opens. So we're going to have at intermission, we're going to have a half hour of house music and hip-hop before the show even starts. And Donnell is a hip-hop choreographer. So the original choreography was kind of an integration in the original production of modern dance and other dance forms. And so we wanted something that reflected our student population. So we kind of have this DJ who, Justin is actually a pretty accomplished percussionist, and he's going to be sitting right here on the stage. He won't be in the orchestra with the live orchestra. And the Wiz also features something called pit singers, which we have 3 or 4 students who are doing all the background vocals, and they're visible. That's actually built into the original production. So we just wanted to give it more spirit and vitality. So there'll be a lot of live and loud sound. And the other thing is we talked about bringing a Broadway aesthetic, what I call a contemporary Broadway aesthetic, to the production. We are a teaching institution, and we want to expose our students to the way that shows are being built and worked. And so what that means for me is a kind of seamless presentation. You don't sort of have a unit set or one static design, but a lot of movement of scenery in and out, smaller set pieces, suggestions of locations rather than a kind of literal location. So all of that is part of the approach, and so that the show is kind of constantly moving.
So you'll have the DJ percussionist on stage, our jazz ensemble, right? Jazz musicians in the pit.
In the pit.
And then you're going to even alter the stage itself. So the set design. Talk a little bit about.
We are going to have the technical term is passerelle. It's actually a walkway. It's a semicircle that extends out from the edge of the stage into the house a little bit. So it's a kind of opportunity to extend the length of the stage and to provide a focus on solo numbers and solo dance pieces.
And so I assume the scenic design and the costume design sort of reflect this very contemporary urban grit?
Yes, to a certain extent, without sort of overdoing it. Now, you know, when you're working with designers, they bring a lot of their own ideas to the table. And Allie Amadei is our costume designer on our faculty, and she's very imaginative. The costumes are very colorful, but they are contemporary. And most people are aware by now that the Wiz is an adaptation of the original Wizard of Oz movie, which was really an adaptation of the Wizard of Oz books that were popular into the turn of the 20th century. And those Oz books were political allegories. They were kind of critiques of the wave of populism that was rampant through the country in the 1890s. And there is a lot of resonance with our kind of current political climate and landscape, the issues of populism, issues of a population that's either dominated by certain forces that are represented by the witch or the Wiz or the other witches in Oz. So the Scarecrow, for example, has no brain. The Tin Man has no heart. These are entities that are looking for some kind of fulfillment or redemption. And of course, Dorothy just wants to get home, and so she brings them along. And Dorothy is sort of the every man or every person character. That's all a part of the original fabric. So we're trying to make some connections without, you know, taking out a hammer and hitting the audience on the head. But there are some very clear parallels to the time we're living in. So.
Well, it's a very popular musical. I certainly expect that we'll have lots of folks coming to see it, so I do want to encourage people to get their tickets here at the box office at Robinson Hall early so that they don't miss a chance to see it. And again, it's April 19th through the 23rd. That's a Thursday through a Monday.
That's correct.
And there's be a Sunday matinee.
At 2 p.m.
So correct. It sounds really fun. Looking forward to it.
Great music, 30 actors, dancers, performers on stage. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Well, thanks for telling us about it.
My pleasure.